in the midst of playing Gao Ragnarok on hard, as I was getting clapped by the local wildlife in God of War Ragnarok, you know, Gao, I decided to set out on a journey and find a new game to play, because I was getting hella frustrated and I needed something to blow some steam off.
About that time of year again, huh?
And as I set out on a journey to find this new game, I came across Ys 9 Monstrum Nox. Yes, why indeed. So why am I talking about this game? Well, it was a really fun game that I've not really heard mentioned too many times, and I think it deserves some love and appreciation, really. This may not be an extraordinary game, must not be the most heavily animated, budget-heavy game of all time, and it may even seem very generic. But look, the story's super intriguing, the plot, like, from start to finish, there's something for you to want to see through. Simple and fun combat that is really easy to get into, and really banger music. I mean, just listen to this. The combat is really fun, it's flashy, it's super simple. You got a button to attack, and you have a dodge and parry button. And I'll put up a little clip. As you can see here, it's badass to do those things, to parry and enter block. And they give you like damage boost and crit boost, and like it speeds you up and shit. It's freaking sweet. And there's some other stuff you can do, like you have special attacks that take up a slot out of the 4. You get a 5th one, but it's tied to a gauge you gotta fill. You use the special abilities to fill this gauge, so then you activate the gauge, essentially going double trigger, or they call it boost for a good reason, because it boosts, once you're in a boost, it boosts your attack, your range of the attacks, it boosts like your crit damage or crit chance, I believe. And it also speeds you up, and like I said, it gives you access to that 5th ability, the 5th special ability, like the ultimate attack, you know. And it's like, it's flashy, like it gets all close up in the character's face and they go, yeah! And some big crazy flashy shit happens, and it's pretty great. It's very entertaining. So now that we're talking about the characters, we have 6 in total, and you can play as all of them. But you have to unlock them one by one. So like the first few chapters kind of focus on unlocking the characters and who these characters are. At first, when you're introduced, they do seem intriguing.
There's a method to smoking cigars. First, inhale the smoke slowly and deeply, and continue breathing through your nose.
But they don't really develop in the middle, and then at the end, you know, mic drop and big reveal, everything is shown to you, and then, you know, who the characters are and what the story is and all that stuff, which I thought was super intriguing and super fun to actually go through. And I actually did, and it was like 40-50 hours long, to my surprise. So like I said, there are 6 characters in total, and you can play as all of them, but you can play 3 of them at a time. So you pick 3 characters that are in your main roster, and then 3 like as a standby, you know. And you can't really change them during missions, I believe. You can't change them during main missions or dungeons, but outside of that, in the free roaming areas, you're free to change. There are 3 attributes that characters possess. I believe it's something like this, like thrust, slash, and blunt, something like that, right? And these 3 attributes are shared across the 6 characters. So 2 of the characters would have an attribute, the other 2 characters would have one of the other attributes, and then the other set would have the other set of attributes. And monsters are weak to those attributes. Depending on the enemy you're facing, what character you use makes a difference, because you'll do way more crit damage if you're using the character that has the proper attack status that matches the monster weakness. now that we're talking about the monsters, I gotta say, great designs all in all. There was a lot of variety. There's like normal monsters you fight that are usually like in dungeons, or that would just be out in like the open field areas. And there are the main monsters of the game, the main things you're fighting, that are called Lemures.
Watch out, Lemures.
And Lemures are essentially kind of people's negative emotions turned to these monsters that are called Lemures, and normal people can't see them. So this game has a lot of interesting monster and character designs. From like weird spiritual creatures that are supposed to be like ancient spirits of the land and whatnot, that have kind of like a cutesy mesh of... They look like Pokemons, okay? I don't know how else to say it. They look like Pokemon. So there's the monsters that are roaming about, like goblins and all the other stuff you'll find in the fields, like, I don't know, lizards and these big rats and these wild plant lives and shit. And also the monstrums themselves, you know, they all have like a unique design. They have special play styles, so to speak. I mean, you still, you know, you still attack with square, that doesn't really change. But how they do it is different. Like there's one character that's more focused on projectile. They just kind of like do spells. And another character would wield like a giant axe that just swings and just goes crazy. But I mainly just kind of used the main monstrum, Adol. Yes, at first I thought this guy's name was like Adolf. I was just like, ooh, what the fuck? You know, who thought of this? Why? But you know, it's a really old series. This is the 9th installment in the series, apparently. So now that we're talking about the monstrums, what the hell am I talking about? Well, monstrums are the characters we play as, and they're essentially kind of like Power Rangers. They sort of have like their own colors associated with them. You can kind of change that later on. You will unlock some outfits that'll change the character color scheme, but that's like as far as the character customization really goes. Besides like some little things like putting glasses on characters and little hair ties, or you know, like silly little things like that. So like the title kind of says, a red hair boy or ginger boy. I don't know if Redhead is considered ginger in anime. Is it? So the story begins by Adol going to this prison city, Balduke, and he's imprisoned, surprise surprise, and as he's trying to escape, as he makes some allies, he meets this mysterious lady, Aprilis, and this chick shoots him for no reason, and this curse is placed upon us, and we gain this monstrum form, essentially. And we can do all sorts of crap. Like the gifts. Each character possesses a gift, and they share them with each other. And as you unlock the characters, you'll earn these gifts. So the gifts are kind of like traversal things you can do, like climbing walls, grappling, or other stuff that I don't want to spoil. I'll spoil one of them just because this is probably the best one. You can glide, and it's a lot of fun. And so yeah, without spoiling too much, that's essentially the long and short of it. You're Adol, you gain the superpower, you're imprisoned, and you need to know why all these things are happening. And you need to know what Lemures are, and why you're stuck in this prison city, because you can't leave. So the curse that's placed upon you gives you the superpowers, but the downside is you're summoned to these events called the Grimwald Nox. So Grimwald Nox is where all these creatures the Lemures will spawn, and it's kind of like you're summoned there forcefully, and you have to subdue this threat before it leaks out into the real world, because people, like normal people, can't see this curse. Only you can as a monstrum. So yeah, I think the story is actually kind of good. I'm not super in love with the characters. I think some of them are good.
You really are a curious fellow, aren't you? But unfortunately, a magician never reveals his secrets.
Like this one character, she's a doll, her name was Anemona, and she's very robotic, and I thought like she was kind of intriguing. This guy, Kratos, he's pretty cool, I liked him. He always just picking fights and shit. AG protagonist, anime boy, he was probably my favorite. Adol himself, he wasn't really voice acted or anything. He's just constantly looked up to and literally is foaming in the mouth for Adol, like...
It's huge from this angle! Oh, I know! You've got to slap me, Adol!
Why am I watching this? Now that we talked about the Grimwald Nox is kind of like a wave-based defense event, let's call it. Waves and waves of enemies will come through like 5, 6, 7 rounds or waves, and you defeat enemies until the last round, which you will face a boss, and then you kill the boss, and then that's it. You just have to defend the crystal, essentially. There is another variation to the Grimwald Nox, but the difference is instead of going through waves of enemies, you're essentially just collecting crystals and defeating the boss instead, which I find the first one, the defense one, like the wave-based one, much more fun. Besides the Grimwald Nox, I think the other best part of the game, combat-wise, was the dungeons. There's plenty of dungeons, and the dungeons, yeah, they're just like, you go through them, you explore, you open chests, you're like fighting all these enemies, there's a boss somewhere in it, and I find the dungeons and the Grimwald Nox to be like probably the most fun where this game is. And there's one sort of a complaint I have with this game. So in the Grimwald Nox, all 6 characters are present. And when there's all these 6 characters present, all these enemies are on screen, and all of them are screaming their special attack name, flying fireball jutsu and all that, you know? And there's 6 of you, and there's all these monsters, and everyone's just talking and yelling, and there's the music happening. It's just like, it's a diary of visual effects, you know? And audio as well. And you can't see what's hitting you from where, because there's like 40 other things on your screen and all these big effects blowing up everywhere. So yeah, it gets very chaotic. And so, you know, that's really my biggest complaint with the game. The ending was kind of good. Like, I think the ending, like the last mission was damn near 2 hours long, and I think it was the best part of the game. I was kind of worried, like, because I was kind of like turning down. I was like, this is gonna be a mild ending. Or no, it was like a 2-hour mission, and there was like 5, 6 bosses in just the last mission, just boss after boss after boss encounter, and they're all unique bosses too. So it was awesome. The last missions especially was super good. Now that being said, it's not perfect. For instance, the graphics are outdated and bland. They really look like a PS3 game rather than something you play on your PS4 or even PS5 or PC. So it didn't really bother me too much. It's the variety in location, like the dark dungeons, grassy fields, cityscapes, and lava caves. And that kind of rhymed.
It's beautiful.
I think the effects of the characters, like the attacks, they look really awesome. And the monsters, like the designs, I think look really good. This game does a lot of things right. Like, the gameplay is really fun, the story is intriguing from start to finish. There are some, like, low points, but still I think at the end they delivered, for me, at least personally. There are several moments in the game when the game has this big, like, sad sob story happen, right? This big dramatic thing that happens. But still, right after it, you could think of this as both a good thing and a bad thing. It was good in my eyes, because I don't have to dwell on this sad thing that happened in this stupid anime game, right? Sure, it's sad, it's, you know, it's a story, all that, but like, I still want to play a game, and I really enjoyed the fact that it was lighthearted. You know, that it didn't take those moments too seriously, and then we didn't have to dwell for the next 3 hours of why something has happened.
Oh, would you get a load of this spread?
The gameplay was good, the music was really good. I really enjoyed the music. Even though, since not everything is voice acted, sometimes it'll just be like a loop, right? You're going through like this mission, you're going through it, it's just this one song looping over and over again. It kind of gets a little repetitive, but it's kind of to be expected with this style of game. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention, there is loot and crafting and brewing, collectibles, things of that nature. But it's mostly very basic, you know? The loot you gather is mostly just craftables, like things you can consume, essentially consumables, or armors, or little accessories you put on your characters that don't change the character visually. They just kind of change a stat. They're all stat based. They don't change the character's aesthetic. Like, for instance, you can craft a necklace or some kind of jewelry that gives you defense boost and strength boost, and that's more or less kind of the full extent of it. Collectibles are essentially just somewhat character quest related. So there's some characters you find, and they give you like potions as rewards after you gather like 15, I don't know, flower petals or some stupid shit like that. I didn't bother really gathering those things, but if you want to get 100% achievement rate on this game, you gonna have to do everything 100%. I really did genuinely enjoy this game, but I ain't doing that. I'm not spending all that time gathering chests and look, I almost collected most of them too. I almost collected 80% of the chests in the whole game, but that's all it can get out of me. I will not be a slave to this game. 80% will just have to do. Just looking at this footage, there's like so many varieties and enemies and bosses, and just like the combat looks really fluid and fun. I'm really looking forward to the next Ys game, Ys 10. So this game kind of sold me on the series. It is very similar to the likes of Scarlet Nexus or something Atlas, I forgot. Something Atlas. So it's similar to those games, although I'm not really a fan of games that have too much dialogue in them. So yeah, anyways, it was a successful journey. I'm super happy that I tried this game and I enjoyed it from start to finish. I really did. I want to know if you played this and if, you know, you're excited for the next one, because guess what? Ys 10 is coming out next year. As far as I know, it's coming out only in Japan. I don't know when it's gonna get released for North America, which is where I'm at, but hopefully it'll come out and I get to talk about it, because actually I'm kind of looking forward to it. And if you do too, let me know. Again, before I go, I want to show you a spot on the map right here by this river. If you go on this dock, a character will appear at a certain point of the story. If you play in the game dubbed, this character is going to be really funny.
Oh, c'est delicious.
I actually would recommend playing this in English instead of Japanese, just because some characters use certain accents and certain mannerisms that is way funnier in English than it will be in Japanese. In Japanese, it just sounds like good voice acting, but in English, I mean, that's part of the charm of playing games like this. It's just listening to some of those translations and some of the things they say, which just seems super out of character. But yeah, anyways, I recommend this title. Thanks for watching. It's been great. First video of the year, all that yada yada. Thanks, subscribe, like, love ya, love me, world peace, all that. Good day, goodbye, thank you, bye-bye.